Oh, I had to pause the video then because it was getting to half an hour. So I do know how to stop and start, but I'll have to get somebody else to splice these two bits together now, because after half an hour my phone stops recording. So if you wondered where the clunkiness was then, that was it. Okay, next question. John Stokes. All right, John, how you doing, mate? Great chap. I love this question because it's not a wrestling question. I love wrestling. It's been my life since I was 15. And I'll always talk about wrestling to anybody that wants to talk to me. But it's nice to talk about something else. That's pretty cool. So your question, John, is obviously you must know I'm a Trekkie because of all my posts on Facebook about it and whatnot. You've asked if I prefer the original series of Star Trek or the Next Generation. Got a bit of a long answer for that, really, in that neither. Away from wrestling, I'm a bit of a sci-fi geek or a bit of a kleptomaniac. You know, I collect things. I'm into me comics. I'm into me vinyl records, like me 70s and 80s music. I read my comics a lot. I have a collection of normal books, autobiographies, factual fiction. I've got a mini library as well. And when I say mini library, I mean a large cabinet. I haven't got a special room in the house as a library, but I've got my own personal library with my cabinet, and I update it a lot. So there's that. But behind wrestling, my absolute number one love, obviously behind family and family I wouldn't count. That's just number one no matter what anyway. But behind wrestling, my big thing personally, my hobby, is sci-fi, and namely Star Trek. I watch a lot of other sci-fi, but Star Trek's my thing. I've watched it since a kid, since I was very, very small. I've always been a bit of a fantasist, you know. What would it be like to fly, or what would it be like to go to space and or go to the moon or meet an alien? I've always had a weird inquisitive mind. Even when I was very, very young, I would draw pictures of aliens on my notepads and give them to my granddad and stuff like that, you know. And I was introduced to the original series via my step granddad Bill. I shouldn't say step granddad really; he's my granddad, because I was unfortunate in that my nan and granddad split up. But I was fortunate in that I had three granddads then, because obviously I had my granddad from my dad's side, and on my mum's side I had two granddads. And Bill, my granddad, he was there for me just as much as my other two granddads, and showed me just as much love. He was just as wonderful. Well, he's still ticking. I don't know if I was. But he introduced me to the original series. It used to be on BBC Two when I was a kid. There was only four channels. There weren't a fifth channel yet. So we had no Sky, no cable TV. The posh people did, but we don't. And we had just four channels. And on BBC Two, they show reruns of the original series. And he introduced me to that, and because I liked that, he went upstairs and down he comes, and he's got like the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan. Well, he had all the original Star Treks on DVD, and I'd sit and watch them with him for hours and hours and hours, you know. And when we were bored, because we'd spend weekends there, we were bored, I'd be like, Bill, go and get a Star Trek, please, you know. And he would always oblige, and that's how I got into the original series. But then it was my other Grandad Dennis. He lived in the top of a tower. He lived at the top of a tower block in Carmel in Warsaw. And he was this sounds as a contradiction because I just said Carmel in Warsaw, but he was slightly posher. He had Sky TV. So he had access to Next Generation. I forget how he watched it or what channel it was, because I wouldn't have been able, I wasn't allowed anywhere near his remote. He was like a remote king, you know. But he would put Next Generation on. And I was like, oh, Grandad, is this the same thing? Is this still Star Trek? And he was like, yeah. And he showed me an episode with Spock in it. You know, there was a crossover episode where Spock with the grey hair, he was in the Next Generation as well. And I grew up loving both of them equally. I do associate Next Generation with my granddad Dennis, and I associate the original series with my granddad Bill, which is weird, you know, but that's, I associate them with different people, but I love them just as much. And on the wider subject of Star Trek, I'll be honest, because I'm on a lot of like Star Trek forums on the internet, on Facebook, and then I read through, and a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I love the Next Generation and Voyager's crap, or I love Deep Space Nine and this new Discovery's crap, and they're really hateful, like they're angry people, a bit like wrestling fans sometimes. They're angry people, you know, when, like, you know, Roman Reigns wins and they all go mad, you know, a bit like that. But not all of them are angry people. That sounds terrible. Someone's watching that now. No, I'm not angry. No, I'm a Trekkie. Hello, Shane. Now, I view Star Trek as a franchise, as a whole, and I don't think there's a single series that I don't love. I've watched Next Generation, the original series, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Even the animated series that was made shortly after the 60s series was cancelled, I've got that. I watch all of the new stuff. I mean, Picard, the last episode of Picard had me crying like a baby, you know. Discovery, I absolutely adore Star Trek Discovery. I know a lot of the old school fans who are like, you know, firmly William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and it's nothing else. I know that a lot of them don't like Discovery, but I absolutely adore it. I watch anything Star Trek related. I even watch some of the fan-made series on YouTube. I'm not joking. There's something called Star Trek Continues, and the actors in it are phenomenal. The guy who plays Scotty in this fan series is actually Scotty's son. You know, the guy who plays it, James Doohan, I think it is. His son plays his father's character in this fan-made series. By saying fan-made series, that kind of belittles it a little bit. They've got a full replica set of the original Enterprise, Jim Kirk's Enterprise. The costumes are bang on accurate. They've brought a lot of the original actors in to play, you know, either relatives of their original characters or original characters. They brought Lou Ferrigno in to play a character, and they painted him all green because he played a certain race of character that was green, and it was the first time Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, had been painted green in about 30 years. So they've got a budget. They've brought Colin Baker in, a former Doctor Who. He's cameoed on it. And honestly, the level of production on this particular fan series that I watch it's almost as good as the original 60s stuff, only with better cameras. You know, it's fantastic. So in answer to your question, John, I know I've gone on a bit there, but I absolutely love Star Trek, and I could talk about it forever. I've got me Klingon bat'leth hanging up over there on the wall. I wish you could see it, actually. Neither. I love all of them. Star Trek to me is my favourite thing away from wrestling, and I love it. And for hours I'll watch, you know, Voyager or Next Gen or Deep Space Nine, and I'll get into it and I'll watch it again, and I'll forget certain episodes, or I'll realise that I fell asleep through a couple of episodes. I'll be like, oh, I can't remember this bit, but I still watch them all now to this day, and all the new content to watch, and I still read about it. I've got about 30 of the books over there. I've got some of the books that were written by William Shatner, you know, and they're really fun. So every single bit of it. I just love Star Trek, mate. So there's your answer. I think we've got another couple of non-wrestling questions here. So if I'm boring you to death, fast forward 10 minutes. Right. Will Hodgett has asked me, hello, mate, you're right. Will Hodgett has asked me, who's your favourite Doctor Who? So, again, another franchise, another sci-fi franchise that I absolutely adore. Is Doctor Who. I've watched a lot of it. I haven't watched it lately, but I do intend to catch up on it. It's just fell by the wayside because I'm watching other stuff, or because I've got busier with the wrestling pre-lockdown, and then post-lockdown we went on like a big marathon of watching all the Marvel films with the kids and stuff like that. But I do intend to catch up just so I know what's going on, and I'm sure I'll love the latest couple of seasons just as much. I don't think I've watched Capaldi's last series properly, and then I need to watch the new Doctor. So I can't include the newest Doctor in your question, as in who's the favourite Doctor. She may well be, but I don't know. I haven't got round to watching it yet. But what I do like is when I do watch it, I'll probably watch all of her stuff in about 3 days. I'll binge watch it, and I'll be like, oh, you know. So I hate watching stuff week to week. I've stopped watching Peaky Blinders because I had to watch it like every week. So I'll catch up on that as well eventually. But in answer to your question, it's a really, really left field one. It used to be the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, because he was the first Doctor I saw. Again, watched it with one of my granddads on reruns. I wasn't alive when Tom Baker was... No, I don't think I was born when Tom Baker was first the fourth Doctor, or I certainly weren't watching the telly or whatnot, or conscious of Doctor Who at that point. But it was Tom Baker because he was the first Doctor. Everyone says, well, the first Doctor I watched was my Doctor, you know, and I watched lots of Tom Baker serials with my granddad, so I liked him. And then I became like a bit of a geek for David Tennant and all that kind of stuff, and got back into it and started going to a lot of the conventions. And I met Colin Baker, the sixth Doctor, and he was just a really nice guy. I liked his costume because it was so weird, you know, that bright, multicoloured yellow, red, green, blue, whatever coat he had on. So I kind of almost saw him as a joke Doctor, which is bad of me, and I'll correct that in a minute. But I went to meet him. I thought I'll get his autograph. He looks really cool, and he was really friendly. He made a fuss of my daughters who were with me, and he was really nice. He said how he had daughters as well. I don't think he's got any sons. I think he's just got 2 or 3 daughters, and he was talking about his daughters, but paying my daughter a lot of attention, like being really friendly and, talking to them about what his daughters liked at that age and things like that. And I just thought he spent that extra bit of time, talking to us, and it was really nice. And then I found out about something called Big Finish, which is like an audio adventure of Doctor Who. It's like, recorded audio adventures. So much like, you get audio autobiographies and you listen to them. Well, these are acted out exactly like the TV series, but all for the wireless, the radio, earphones and whatnot. And what's cool about that is the older Doctors who don't really look like their own Doctor anymore, like Colin, even Tom, all of them, they don't look like the Doctor anymore, but they've still got the voice and they've still got the love for the role, and that they hire almost all of the original casts, those that are still alive. They're pretty much on the books at Big Finish, from what I can tell. And I started listening to these audio adventures while I was in the gym or while I was doing work, going around putting the posters up or whatever, and they just kept me busy. And I fell in love with them to the point that I probably prefer the audio adventures now to the on-screen BBC programmes. And what I realised is, again, through meeting Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor, but also reading a lot of his interviews online, that his 2 seasons, his short tenure as the Doctor, were kind of hamstringed by the BBC. They were kind of, poor production, poor scripts. It was kind of pushed down the bottom of the priority. Poor costume, for want of a better word. Even though I liked his coat, I don't think he did, And he didn't ever get to fully round his character. Like the first series, he's quite abrupt, and he's quite offish. And then as they want to round it off, they cancelled him and brought Sylvester McCoy in, who's another great Doctor. One of my favourites. But what I noticed is through the Big Finish adventures, Colin Baker got to truly round off his character and develop it properly. And because of the Big Finish adventures, like if I get 2 or 3 in a row and I've got a Peter Davison one and a Sylvester McCoy one, or even a Tennant one, I've got a David Tennant and a Tom Baker, 2 separate ones. I've got 2 adventures on vinyl record from Big Finish, and they're fantastic. I listen to them quite a bit, like. But through Colin Baker's Big Finish adventures, he's got to right a few wrongs and kind of made his Doctor better, or in the vision that he wanted it in. And I'll be completely honest, simply through Big Finish, Colin Baker's my favourite Doctor. I think he's just brilliant. I love listening to his adventures. It's the 6th Doctor, which probably sounds a bit weird, but closely followed by the 4th Doctor. Okay. Right, last non-wrestling question, I think so. Oh no, there's 2 more. We got one from Chris Royals, who is a very, very good friend of mine, dear colleague, great wrestler, but more importantly, a great friend, been a great source of support through all this lockdown, because I've been going insane, just stuck in the house. And he's very good person, but he's asked me an odd question here. So thanks, Chris. He said, you have 1 hour left on Earth. You can only listen to 1 more record. What would it be? Well, I get what your question is, but I'm going to answer it literally first, and then I'll answer I'll answer it how you want me to answer it. In honesty, if I only had 1 hour to live, I'd probably, and you know this because I'll go mad, I'd probably have a panic attack, have a cry, hug my kids, and then cry a bit more. I wouldn't be thinking about a record, but I know what you mean. You're framing it to say if you could only listen to 1 record. I know what you mean, but I'd just go into panic mode and run around like an headless chicken if I only had an hour to live. Can you imagine if you knew when you were going to kick the bucket? It wouldn't be very nice, would it? 1 record to listen to, that's really tough, that is, Chris. You putting me on the spot there. It would be a Black Sabbath record, absolutely no doubts about that. And it would be Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Simply because I think either Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, or Sabotage. I think Ozzy's at the height of his powers. I think as a band, they're so heavy on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Just the one song, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, is there's such a good tempo change. There's such good different ranges in Ozzy's voice, nice and low and up high and all of that. I would say Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. They're my favourite band, and that's probably their best work, if you know what I'm saying, as a band. It's not my favourite Sabbath song ain't on it, but as a collective, that album is just fantastic. So it would be Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Black Sabbath, but I wouldn't be listening to it. I'd be too busy panicking and running around the house saying I've only got an hour to live. So there you go. Next one, Jason Bishop. If you were stuck on a desert island, what 3 things would you want with you? Okay, so again, I see things very literal, because when I read the Chris Royals one, I thought, well, if I only had an hour to live, I wouldn't listen to a record. I'd have a panic. Or I'd, try and write a will real quick to look after my kids or something. I don't know. A will. I wouldn't have nothing to leave them at the moment. I'd maybe forward someone else's will for them. I don't know. If I had 3 things, I'm thinking of it literal. So I would want a water supply, a food supply of some kind, like fresh fruit trees or something I could stay alive and shelter. They're the 3 things I'm thinking of, because I'm just thinking off the top of my head, well, I don't want to die on this desert island. It don't matter if you've got a lump of gold and some aftershave and some creature comforts, a keg of beer or something like that. You'd be dead anyway from exposure or from starving to death, or, a big bloody puma would come and eat me while I'm not hiding in my house or whatever. So if I could have a shelter of some kind, a living habitat, water supply, give me a well so I can get my own water and it's not going to run out, and some kind of food supply, whether it be a capacity to do it myself, if I can have some seeds, or if there's just plentiful fruit or animals around, and I could do what I do. I'm looking at that very, very boring, but it's all right saying I'd love my record collection and a few books and my missus, because I'd be dead, if you know what I mean. So that's probably like a lame answer, but it's the true answer. But let's presume I'm stuck on a desert island. I've got a very good living space. I've just transferred my house, say, to a desert island. That sounds all right, doesn't it? All right, bye, see ya. I've got a well, and I've got food, or a food supply. Let's just say I've already got them things. What would I want? I'd want my family. My kids and my wife, so that I'm going to class that as one thing, because I can't pick 3 out the 7 of them, can I? So I'd want my family with me in my nice house that I'm transferring to desert island. I want my family. I'd want a lifetime supply of beer in the cellar, a lifetime and half supply, just in case I live a bit longer by accident, which I probably won't, because I will be drinking a lot, because I'll be bored on a desert island. I'd want a lifetime supply of beer. I'd want my family, and I'd want my record collection. That's what I'd want then, if I've already got the things I need to live. So there you go. And my record player, but I think that comes in my record collection. I think that's all as one, so it keep me sane. There you go, mate. What's this one then? Right, this is a long one. Bear with me. Let me read it out and then I'll try and work out what it is. Paul Derby has come to me with this one, and it is a good question. I remember writing it down, but I haven't rehearsed any of this or read them and planned an answer, so give me a second. Paul said, how do you feel with the effects of COVID-19 on the world of wrestling? Will it be the same again? How will you as a promoter plan to move PWL and its roster forwards? And the main part is, do you think fans will have the same product? Okay, I'm going to say that one more time in case I stutters and stammered. How do you feel with the effects of COVID-19 on the world of wrestling? Will it be the same again? And as a promoter, how will you move PWL and its roster forwards? The main part is, do you think the fans will accept the same product? Right, I'm not sure 100% what you're getting at there with the same product. For me, wrestling is wrestling. It's 2 good wrestlers going at each other in a sporting contest to see who wins. If you've got a good feud cooking and smoking, it's a fan favourite and it's a rule breaker. And you go in there to see that rule breaker get his ass handed to him, and you go in there to see the fan favourite win the match. You support him just like you support your football team, Paul. I think you're from Birmingham, so I'm guessing you might be a Villa fan or a Birmingham fan or whatnot. And, after COVID, say if you are, you might not like football, but let's say you are, after COVID, will you say, when they let the crowds back in, will you go and sit in Villa Park, say, let's pretend you're a Villa fan, will you sit in Villa Park and go, oh, well, I'm not accepting this, they've got to have an extra goal post, and I want 4 goalkeepers, and I want a square-shaped ball? Of course you're not. You're just going to enjoy football if you're a football fan. If you're not a football fan and you like Star Wars, right, after COVID, you're going to say, well, I don't like this. Why have they still got lightsabers? I don't want the same product. I think they should have sword fights with giant carrots. Of course you're not. You're just going to enjoy Star Wars because you've always enjoyed Star Wars. So once the crowd comes back, I'm sure that the same product will prevail. Basically because of that, really. I can't see there being a change. I might be misinterpreting your question there, but it just ends with, will the fans accept the same product? Well, the best way I can answer that is, after COVID, will you write to the Cadbury factory in Birmingham and say, I want you to add chili flakes and salt to your chocolate? Of course you're not. You love chocolate. You like chocolate before COVID, and you're going to like chocolate after. There will be some changes because of COVID, the awareness and we might have to mask up for a little while or forever. I don't know. There will be changes. But in relation to a product, now I can't see people not accepting a product. If you liked watching comedies before COVID, you're going to watch comedies after. If you like, I don't know, if you liked skydiving before COVID, when you're allowed to do it again, you're gonna skydive. You're not gonna replace your parachute with an anvil because it won't work out. I think I'm trying to answer that. I'm probably getting that a bit wrong, but we'll see. But in regards to moving it forward, obviously we've announced different codes of conduct and things we're going to do, because there's been a lot of time of reflection, and obviously there's going to be a lot of safeguarding things in place. There's going to be hand sanitizers and masks and cleaning stations and separated seating for the time being, or maybe forever. I don't know about that. I can't answer you until we're looking in deeply to it. We're looking into it every day, and we're doing our research. And I believe that Elise, my wife, she's passed a COVID awareness test, so she's certified in that. And I think James Jennings has done one. James Venom has done the same thing with a COVID test, and different safeguarding courses that my wife's going on, and I plan to jump on them at some point as well. So we're going to have to be more aware of certain things because of COVID. But I don't think the product in ring will change, Paul. I could be wrong, but I don't think it will. Don't hold me to it. We'll see. But that's my opinion. Okay. Right, here's my last question now, folks, and I shall pop off and stop boring you. Here's my last question. Rebecca Blatchford has asked me top 5 moments in wrestling. Okay, and this is the only one where I've written things down. So if you see me looking down, I do apologise, but I've got 5 bullet points there and my 5 top things. And the only reason I've done that is because it's very hard to sit here and off the top of my head pluck things out of the air. All I did was pluck about the air and write them down anyway. So if I forgot something that maybe you were involved in, if you might be watching this thinking, I was in a really good match with him and he only listed it. My brain ain't the best. I've just gone for things that I think are my top 5. My first match in Portugal was very, very important to me. One of my top things, because I took a seminar before the show and I taught them all, best of my knowledge, how I think it should be done. And then just before I went out, I had like what you could call a mini panic attack, really. As my music hit, I thought, I've just taught these kids how to wrestle or shown them how I think they've got to do it. And if I don't perform now, and if I don't live up to it, I'm going to let the side down, And I was like, oh, don't mess up, don't mess up. My music hit and I hid that nervousness, but I don't normally get that nervous anymore. And I got very, very nervous. Luckily, the match went bang on and there was a big standing ovation afterwards. And the first thing I did was walk out the backstage, down some marble stairs, grab my phone, I found Elise and burst out crying because of that much pressure was on me, and then to be accepted by a different country. But not only that, because I had wrestled in other countries up until that point, but wrestling in a different country where I'd really liked the people and I really liked the surroundings, and I kind of like attached myself to Lisbon. They became my people, if you know what I mean, and I loved them. And to have their acceptance just meant a lot. So that's definitely one of my 5. These aren't in order. That's one of my 5. As I said earlier to Jesse's question, my first tour of Japan. I won't bore you so much with that because I've already spoke about that in this segment. But my first tour of Japan was big, 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 big for me. Like that's up there. Elise's first match is one of my favourite moments because she was so nervous about it. We did a great story build to it. We hyped it and promoted it really well. And to be her tag partner and to hug her after the match and see how well she did, she just held her end of the bargain up exceptionally well. Her debut was a hell of a lot better than mine, and she was bang on, and I think she did great. That got a big lump in my throat, and that meant a lot to me. Likewise, for my 4th choice, Haya's debut, our daughter, my stepdaughter. With Haya's debut, same thing. I got to tag with her. It was me, a mum and her in a 6-person tag. and it was just amazing. You know, I didn't do much in the match. Elise started it, she did a showing, and I was still in awe of her. I did a little bit, and then Haya come in, and I was just watching this little girl, just like I'd watched a mum not so long before make her debut, and the two of them just did me so proud in that match as well, to be a part of her debut. I've still got a picture somewhere on my phone, and it's three of us standing together just before we go to the ring. And it's one of my happiest pictures. So yeah, so that's one of them. And then the last one is the Will or Bath show. So again, I don't need to bore you to death with that, because I've already detailed it for 5 or 6 minutes. But to have Ted DiBiase on the show, but not only that, to have British legends on the show, which we did. Blondie Barrett was on, and a plethora of others. But then to have that WCW Thunder main event, that show, you know, Juventud and Ultimo Dragon against each other, main event, to go out there and watch that from the stage, and so proud. And I watched it with one of the reporters from the Express and Star, who actually became a friend, actually, and we stood there watching it together, and he could tell how proud I was. He actually said, you know, "You're buzzing, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah, I am, you know, and I truly was, like, you know. Yeah, so there's my top 5. I'll read them again in case I've waffled and confused you. But it was my first match in Portugal. Absolutely adored it. It was personally meant something to me. My first tour of Japan, amazing, just meant so much. But again, I've detailed that. Elise's debut, because I tagged with her, so I was part of it. But like, to just stand there in awe of her and watch that was amazing. But very much, Haya, that situation was the same. So that's number 4. Exactly the same reasons, exactly the same pride, and just you know, welling up, being proud of her. And then the Will and All Bath show, which I've detailed, you know, PWL Super Show. That was it, really. I think I've answered all the questions. I did miss one out yesterday by accident, and I shoehorned it in today for part 3. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but I missed it out. I completely just missed it off the list. I think I've answered everything. Thank you so much for sending me so many questions, for having so much interest. Thank you so much for following and supporting PWL. Thank you so much for staying in touch with us all, and for being on the fan zone, and for keeping your eye on us, and still passing comments, and still supporting us even while we can't put a wrestling product out for you. And I promise, as soon as everyone's safe and it's safe to do so, and as soon as we've got our new codes of conduct in place, and got our new you know, qualifications and our new board in place, we will be back on the first day that we're told, you know, it's safe to go back to wrestling. People can make contact, and obviously we know how we're going to seat you. We've got seating plans and risk assessments already done. You know, we've been working tirelessly on things like that. But as soon as we're told we can come back, you will find within 24 hours, 36 hours, we will be announcing a show. We've got venues lined up, outdoor venues if that's all we're allowed. We've got an outdoor venue lined up, or we've got inside venues ready and willing to host us as soon as it's, you know, legal and safe. More importantly, safe to do so. We will do it. So just keep your eye out. We'll be back. I love you all so much. Thank you.